Welcome back. So let me ask you, what do you think of when you hear the name Moses? I think about how God called Moses. Moses was brave. He went to the pharaohs and demanded from Pharaoh that he let God's people go. I think about the miracles, the 10 plagues. I think about Moses parting the Red Sea for the Israelites to cross over and escape the Egyptians who had chased them down. I think about someone who talked to God and followed God as Moses led the Israelites to the promised land after 40 years in the desert. I also know that Moses showed up on the mountain of transfiguration with Elijah and with Jesus. I know that Jesus referred to Moses several times, so Moses must have been a very important person in the life of God's people. What may not be as well known about Moses is that God would not let Moses go into the promised land because of some faux pas he committed on the journey there. And initially, Moses tried to get out of accepting God's call in his life altogether. This part of the story comes from Exodus 4, verses 10 to 17. Moses has seen the burning bush. He's up there talking to God through the burning bush. God's already given Moses the task for him to do, and Moses is giving reasons why he should not be the one to do the work. I don't want to call them excuses at this point, because haven't we all been there? Haven't we all been to a place where God has asked us to do some task and maybe we make excuses for not doing it? But this is what we hear in Exodus 4, starting in verse 10. It said, "Then Moses said to the Lord, 'Please, Lord, I am not a man of words, eloquent or fluent, neither before nor since you have spoken to your servant, for I am slow of speech and tongue.' The Lord said to him, 'Who has made man's mouth, or who makes the mute or the deaf or the seeing or the blind? Is it not I, the Lord? Now then go, and I, even I, will be with your mouth and will teach you what you shall say.' But he," meaning Moses, "said, 'Please, my Lord, send the message of rescue to Israel by someone else, whomever else you will choose.' Then the anger of the Lord was kindled and burned against Moses. He said, 'Is there not your brother Aaron the Levite? I know that he speaks fluently. Also, he is coming out to meet you, and when he sees you, he will be overjoyed. You must speak to him and put the words in his mouth. I, even I, will be with your mouth and with his mouth, and I will teach you what you are to do. Moreover, he shall speak for you to the people. He will act as a mouthpiece for you, and you will be as God to him, telling him what I say to you. You shall take in your hand this staff, with which you shall perform the signs, the miracles which prove I sent you.'" Moses had this one last excuse. "Hey, God, I don't speak very well. Send somebody else." But God had an answer. Aaron will help Moses. God will give Moses the words to say, and Moses will give Aaron the words to say, and Aaron will do the speaking. Moses was a helper. Moses has some skills and talents, but couldn't do it all. Aaron has some other skills and talents, but he couldn't do it all. What Aaron can do complements what Moses can do. They're a team used together to serve God's purposes. Note that it starts with God and God's unique gifts to each one. There's another story of Moses in Exodus 17. The Israelites are in battle with Amalek and his army. Moses goes to the top of a hill with his staff in his hand, and as long as Moses held his hands up, the Israelites would have the upper hand, so to speak. If Moses let his arms down, Amalek's army would begin winning the battle. You can imagine that Moses' arms would get tired, so Aaron and Hur helped Moses by holding his arms up. When his arms would get heavy and tired, Moses couldn't do it by himself, but note, it starts with God. There's yet another story from Numbers 11 where Moses was getting tired from bearing all the burdens of the people. So the Lord asks Moses to gather 70 elders from the people to help lead the people and share in the task of bearing the burdens of the people. Moses couldn't do it by himself, but note that it started with God. Have you tried doing something all by yourself? Do you have skills and talents? The answer is absolutely yes, you do. But you don't have the skills and talents to do entirely the complete task by yourself? Do you ever get tired and exhausted from the work? Do you ever bear others' burdens to the point that you could not possibly carry another burden? You're in good company if you answered yes to any of those questions. You're in the company of the man who God used to free his people from slavery, who parted the Red Sea. Well, really, God did that through Moses. The person who raised his arms for the Israelites in battle so that they could win. Well, really, God did that through Moses. And the man who Jesus spoke of more than once. You weren't made to do it all by yourself, to do it to the point of exhaustion, to bear everyone's burdens by yourself. You do have some skills and talents. Let's call them gifts. Others have gifts as well. We all complement each other. We are all called to do it together. We're going to talk more about that next time. But remember, it all starts with God and the many gifts that he gives to his children. Grace and hope to you. Amen.